Well, after months of campaigning and polling, the Iowa caucuses are finally here. News 8's Mike Thompson kicks off our 2016 campaign coverage live from Lansing tonight.
Good evening, Martha, from Lansing, Iowa. It all starts here. As you know, this is the first state where voters head to the polls, or not actually the polls, but the caucus, I should say, and begin that long and sometimes arduous process of picking the next president of the United States. Voters will head to precincts in 1,681 locations across the state of Iowa tonight. The caucuses begin at 7 p.m., including right here in Lansing, and we're going to be there. News 8's Kyle Dimke, though, has been gauging voters' feelings here in Lansing throughout the day, and he joins us now with some of their thoughts on this.
Yeah, Mike, it's been a very interesting day today. Voters here in Lansing are split on the attention that that Iowa gets, from both the media and the candidates. But what they're really excited about is getting the voting process started. They're ready to get the caucus underway and get their discussions happening. But others are saying that this is just the beginning and they're excited to see what happens next. Why do you like being first?
Then that way it might influence some of the other country folk. You know what I mean?
Every single vote matters. If you don't go, then don't complain, because your vote it counts.
And as you know by now, the caucus process is much different than the primary election Wisconsin voters are used to. But Iowa voters say they like the caucus better.
It gives Iowa notoriety, and it's a unique process. The nation needs to see this, and being first brings that out.
And Mike, what's been interesting talking to voters today, no matter what side of the aisle they go, they vote for, what they say is, like we just mentioned, they like the caucus, and they're really just excited to get to the caucus tonight, and get that discussion going. They really enjoy that.
Big enthusiasm here in Little Lansing, Iowa.
Very much so, absolutely.
All right, thanks very much. News 8's Kyle Dimke with us tonight. And we are lucky enough to have our political analyst, Joe Heim, joining us down here in Lansing, Iowa, for some analysis on this Iowa caucus tonight. Thanks for being here, Joe.
Florida.
Yeah, too bad it isn't Florida, that's right. First of all, take us through the process of how this is going to work tonight.
Okay, first of all, remember that this is all about selecting delegates to the national conventions. Caucus, as opposed to a primary, requires a commitment of time, 1 to 3 hours of time. So the number of participants will be substantially lower than, say, what a primary would be in Wisconsin. Democrats and Republicans do a little differently. First of all, you have to register as a Democrat or Republican at the beginning of the 7 o'clock time. Second, the Democrats, they then listen to a bunch of speeches. And people will say, we want you to support so-and-so or so-and-so. Third, you go into a group of people who are like-minded supporters of a particular candidate. If that person does not have 15% of the total number of people at the end, you're free to switch at that time to go to another. But at some point or another, they count up. Let's say your group is over 15%. They count up the number, and essentially that becomes the next number in terms of identification of delegates. Republicans do a little bit differently. As opposed to having a group where you go into a corner and count numbers, you actually use a ballot. So you write a name of a person on a ballot, basically. So you register, you listen to speeches, and then you actually vote on a ballot and put the ballot in the box. And the total numbers of votes basically determine how many delegates are going to come out of that.
Okay. We've been bombarded by these polls over the past couple of months now, and it's finally here, the caucus time. What should we be looking at when those results come in tonight?
Well, I think both sides seem to think that the results are going to be very close. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are supposedly running almost neck and neck, although I think Donald Trump on the Republican side is supposed to be a little bit ahead. The big question is who is going to win for the Democratic side, because the winner is going to get some momentum going into New Hampshire. The Republican side, the real question is who's going to come in second or third. You can always count in Iowa there's going to be some surprises. So the third person might in fact be very close. Maybe somebody comes from behind that's fifth or sixth in the polls, actually ends up second. It's often happened that way in the state.
All right, we shall see if there are any surprises tonight as well. Thanks very much, Joe. And myself, Joe, and News 8's Kyle Dimke will be attending both the Republican and Democratic caucus here in Lansing, Iowa tonight, and we will have more reaction and analysis for you coming up tonight on News 8 at 10. For now, we're live in Lansing, Iowa. Mike Thompson, News 8.